ரோபர்ட் இவான்ஸ் என்ன சொல்கின்றார் அவரிடம் கேட்டு பார்க்கலாம். இப்போது அவருடைய அந்த பதிவு செய்யப்பட்ட காட்சி வருகிறது. இப்போ
Okay, just for the benefit of those at home who may not know who you are, would you be able to give us a brief description of who you are and what your role is?
I'm Robert Evans. I'm a member of the European Parliament. In the European Parliament I chair the Delegation for Relations with South Asia, and I've travelled widely across Sri Lanka and to all parts of the Vanni over the years. So I know the situation, and I know the parts of the world where the people are hemmed in by the Sri Lankan army.
We were just wondering, what would you have to say about the current situation in the Vanni, where we've been informed that the Sri Lankan army have actually gone into the so-called safe zone that they themselves turned off as an area where there was to be no bombardment, and they've actually now have started bombardment there, and they have, started killing the people there too. What would you have to say in regards to that?
Well, I've been a long time critic and cynical about the Sri Lankan government's attitude and their motives. We can't be sure of what's happening there because they systematically deny, as you know, and your viewers will know, they systematically deny independent witnesses access to the Vanni. But all the evidence is being clear that the so-called safe zone has not been safe for all the time, that they've been bombing into it and the bullets have been going in there. And we know from the pictures and the messages that have come out that huge numbers of people have been killed, injured, men, women, children, babies, unborn babies have been killed. So the situation is desperate, and the Sri Lankan government has really got an awful lot to answer for, and in the not just the court of public opinion but the court of international justice, I believe should come down very, very heavily on the Sri Lankan government and take no excuses from them. I don't defend anybody's violence, whether it's violence from the LTT or the Sri Lankan government, but the Sri Lankan government were the ones who withdrew unilaterally from the ceasefire some months ago now and have continued this, and they're the ones who are in a position to stop the bombing of the safe zone now.
In terms of the response we've personally had from the government and other bodies so far, the Foreign Minister David Miliband has jointly issued a statement with the French equivalent of the Foreign Minister, and they've actually called on the LTTE to lay down their arms first, and they have actually not included that much, or we could say not anything at all, about what the Sri Lankan army themselves are doing. And what would you have to say about this very still one-sided view, despite everything that's going on around the world in terms of the Tamil diaspora's revolution as such? In spite of that, they still continue to lay all the blame at the LTTE's door and refuse to take any account of what the Sri Lankan army and the government are doing. So what would you have to say about the British government and the other government's response to this?
Well, I've said for a long time that we needed a complete ceasefire, not unilaterally from one side or the other, because that wouldn't work. We need a complete and total ceasefire, and that the aid agencies need to be allowed complete access to the areas, which again has been denied for months. That the charities and the international aid organisations have not been allowed to go in there. Neither of the journalists, neither have independent observers or people who could help. And I draw comparisons with the situation in the Middle East, in the situation in Gaza between the Palestinians and Israel.
அந்த கருத்துக்கள் ஐரோப்பிய பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர் ரோபர்ட் இவான்ஸ் இன்றைய பொழுதில் பரமேஸ்வரன் அவர்களை சந்தித்த பிற்பாடு அங்கே இருந்த